Hello, today I'm reviewing the new Megan Nielsen pattern, the Jarrah jumper. I was fortunate enough to be able to pattern test this, so I made it a few months ago, so I'm excited to be able to finally share it. Just a quick disclaimer at the beginning, if I'm squinting at all, it's just because I've got iritis at the moment. In order to treat iritis, you have to take a couple of different eye drops, one of which for the first week or so are dilating ones. So it means that I've got one pupil that's way bigger than the other. I'm not sure if I can show it. So yeah, basically it means that one eye is getting loads of light into it and the other pupil is really small when it's bright. But yeah, it's just one of the joys of the chronic illness I have. So now I'm just going to go through the pattern details. So this is the Jarrah pattern by Megan Nielsen. I made view A, which is a simple jumper format. The main details is that it's got ribbing on the neck, the cuffs, and also the hem. There are some other interesting versions that you can do with this pattern. There's a little tie knot you can have on the side. There's a high-low hem version which is curved, and they've also now released a funnel neck version which was a suggestion as a pattern tester, but they didn't have the pieces for it. So to be honest, if I did make it again, I'd be very tempted to make that version. And finally, the size that I made was a size 10. For this pattern, I used charity shop finds for the whole of it in the end. This light grey ribbing that I've got here, I actually got this years ago, I think. It's been in my stash for so long. I only paid something like 50p or £1 for it. I've still got loads of it left. Yeah, so I was hoping that I would be able to use up some of my stash for this project. And the main fabric, this darker grey, I got this from a charity shop way more recently. Essentially, I got the pattern to test and then I found this fabric the following weekend in a nearby charity shop on the way home from a park run. So that was really useful because I didn't have any fabric or enough fabric in my stash for what was required. I'd say it's a bit like a Ponteroma. It is a bit of a slightly different texture on the inside, but I'm not sure it's really, I don't think it really counts as sweatshirt fabric. It's not as thick as that, so I'd say it's more like a medium weight Ponte, to be honest. In terms of difficulty, it's a really nice simple make. It's a loose fit, so you don't really need to worry about fitting. It's got these lovely dropped shoulders, so you don't have to set in the sleeves. And even hemming wise, because I've gone with the option with the band, it wasn't that difficult to attach. I did try out the twin needle on this make, so that's why it's kind of stretched a little bit. But it was a nice opportunity to try it with a stable fabric. So you can see I've done it over on the neckline as well as the hem, and on the cuffs I've got the twin needle. In terms of the clarity on the instructions, I can't say on the other views, but the view I've done, I found it really simple and straightforward to go through. I did make a bit of an error on the neckband. It turns out there is a particular way to add the neckband. I was kind of used to, I think I did another neckband quite soon before I made this one, and on that one you joined up the short end, so you had your little circle for your neckband, you folded it in half, and then you pinned the quarters to attach it. Whereas this one did actually have notches, and there is a particular way to attach it. So So on this pattern you can see that they've actually put the seam for the neckband on the left hand side, so it's on your shoulder seam, whereas I'm quite used to you being able to put the neckband wherever you want, so typically I'd put it at the back. But on this occasion I did realise my error, but that's more that I kind of got a bit carried away. It does actually say in the instructions, so as long as you don't do what I did and just go, oh, I know what I'm doing now, then you should be able to notice that, because otherwise it doesn't quite fit round properly. So yeah, essentially it was all clear, it's just you need to read through. In terms of the fit, I made a straight size 10. I used the measurements as a guide and it fits fine. It's designed to be a loose fit jumper, so there wasn't anything I needed to change really. I also am a big fan of loose fit items, so yeah, it's perfectly fine for me. Regarding the design, I wasn't too sure when I first finished this item. I guess I don't wear an awful lot of jumpers, so I wasn't too sure whether I firstly needed it. And also I wasn't too sure about the hem, especially because I've done it in a contrast fabric. I was a bit worried it would look a bit too school jumpery, if that makes sense. However, I am really happy with it. It's definitely grown on me. And yeah, I like having the cuff sleeves. I think if I made another one, I would go for the funnel neck option next time, just because I don't need tons of jumpers like this. And it just looks really snuggly having the funnel neck. Time taken, I can't really remember how long it took me, but I'm pretty sure I got this done within a day. As I mentioned, it's quite a simple make. There are a few pieces to cut if you do this view, so you've got to cut the sleeves, you've got to cut the cuffs, you've got the hem, and then you've obviously got the main front and back pieces as well as the neckband. So there's a few more pieces than maybe a simpler pattern might have. You know, you could probably make a jumper out of 4 pieces with some designs, but like I say, it didn't take too much longer to cut out. And then after that, you know, I chose quite a stable fabric, so it didn't take too long to pin it or use the quilting clips. Also, the pattern's designed with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, so if you're using an overlocker, it's you know, you haven't got as big a seam allowance as you normally would, so you won't have to either cut it off or, you know, stitch with the sewing machine to start with and then overlock. So that was quite a nice feature, so you feel like you're using a bit less fabric if you are going straight for the overlocker. So to conclude, I'm really happy with this make. It was a great experience. It's the first time I've ever pattern tested, so it was definitely a nice one to start with as well, because it wasn't too complicated. I felt like I could achieve it in the time that they specified. The only thing was it was really hot in the UK at the time, so it's only really just dropped in temperature now here, so I haven't been able to wear it quite a lot. And you might notice, I don't know if I've cropped my feet out of the photos, but I'm wearing sandals or flip-flops just because it was so hot, so I just quickly threw on some jeggings and took some photos, and then I had to quickly get out of it and get into shorts and a t-shirt because it was just so hot at the time. But now it's a lot colder, so I think it will be getting a lot of use now. And yeah, like I mentioned, it's quite good value, this pattern, because you've got those different variations. So I think you've got about 4 different ones. One thing to note is that in the pattern testing stage they had a long and a cropped version for view A. Now they've just kept the cropped version, so I think the cropped version is about 10 centimeters shorter than the version I've made. So if you did want to make it as long as I have, you would need to add that extra 10 or 11 centimeters where the lengthen and shorten line is. So I mean, the long version that I made, it kind of goes down, so that's about my hip, so it goes down to there. So I mean, the cropped version, if it's 10 centimeters up, it probably would hit my hip a bit. I quite like having a long jumper, but so obviously if you did want to adapt the published pattern, all you'd need to do is add that extra 10 or 11 centimeters where it says lengthen or shorten on both your front and back pieces. That's all I've really got to say on it. So yeah, I'd recommend the pattern. It's good value for money to get those different versions, and I'll see you soon for another video. Thanks for watching.